Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Tank Mechanic Simulator for the PC. The game was developed by DeGeneres and published by Playway SA, was released on Steam in 2020. The game's premise is that it's all about you being a tank mechanic who fixes and repairs old World War II tanks. So I'm sure that if you're a lover of tanks or simulator games, that this one should have you drooling at the mouth. However, is this game actually any good or not though? Well, let's take a look at the review and find out. The game's story is... well, there really isn't one. Well, nothing on the scale of something like Tales of Berseria or YS8, Lacrimosa of Dana. The game's plot is very simple. You're a mechanic who repairs and builds tanks, and that's essentially it. The game never really strays or deviates too much away from this, otherwise it would sort of ruin the entire point of what the game is really about. So while it is pretty much basic and straightforward, it does the job that it's meant to do. Much like the plot section of this review, this area is kind of the same. You don't really get others to interact with or control, but instead the game's main focus is on you, the player, the individual, and that's it. You won't really be meeting anybody or forming any teams as such, but instead, the game is solely about you as an individual, working alone, and focusing on repairing and building tanks. And that really is pretty much it. You won't really see anyone, and you won't really interact with anyone, unless really you want to count the emails as interacting with someone. Here is where this game really shines, as the amount of detail that's been put into it is simply astounding. You may at first look at the amount of tanks available to you in this game, and you may think, that's not really that many. Yet it's once you start to actually build one of these tanks that you very quickly realise just how many pieces and parts actually go into building an individual tank. You're going to be doing a lot of maintenance, from taking sections apart, sanding them down, removing rust, separating shells, spray painting, and a whole lot more. Honestly, I was really taken back by just how much depth and detail was here in this game with each one of all of the tanks. It's very easy to lose yourself in building one of these beautiful machines and to end up losing track of time in the process of building one and getting a small amount of joy from seeing each individual piece come together. The gameplay in this game really is something which did take me back, because I'm not a huge fan of simulation games, but this one really did manage to win me over by just how much detail was hidden within this game. You don't think it at first when looking at it, but then once you delve into the game, it really is quite amazing. The game's graphics are exceptionally nice, and once set to Ultra, really do show all the fine detail on every little thing within the game. Be it from objects in the warehouse, the tanks, the individual parts, or open areas which you'll get to explore later on. They're all really quite nice and very well done. Really, I don't have a negative thing to say about the game's graphics, because they do exactly what they're meant to do, and that show off just how incredible these tanks really are. From all of the higher up details to all of the very small ones, the game's graphics really do a very good job of what they're supposed to do. Show off just how great these tanks really are. Okay, so you're probably thinking that because the game is called Tank Mechanic Simulator, that this means that you're just going to be spending the entire game in essentially is what a warehouse and nowhere else, right? Well, actually you're going to be doing a fair bit of exploring within this game. For starters, you get the option of going on several expeditions, where you can go out into the wilderness with your jeep and take your trusty metal detector and spade. It's once here you can pick up the metal detector and then start combing the land in search of anything that you might find. Once we get a beep, we can get the digger and we can then start digging. And once you have dug, hopefully we can find something that the excavation team can come along and then take back to the warehouse, which you can then later work on building. Aside from also being in the wilderness or the warehouse, you're also going to have the ability to explore the yard section, where you'll have various bits and pieces laying about, and also a few derelict tanks, which you can work on in your spare time if you so wish. So if you are up to this point in the review and are curious about buying the game, and are wondering if it's any good or not, well, I would say that yes, it is surprisingly rather good, and yes, I would say that it's definitely worth the purchase. I myself am not a huge simulator fan, but I strangely found myself being quite engrossed in this game, and found out that I was accidentally losing more hours in it than I thought I was originally going to do. I found a very odd sense of pleasure from disassembling bits and parts, removing the rust, sanding them down, priming them, respraying them, and then installing them all back together again. I found it oddly quite relaxing and rather pleasing, and doing this for a single track section alone on a tank can take rather a long time, and you can easily lose quite a lot of hours in doing so. I would say that if you are a fan of in-depth simulator games, and that if you absolutely love tanks, then this is a win-win for you, and you're going to be in absolute heaven. If you are new to this type of gaming experience, then I would say that it is worth a try, as I also think that it can win newcomers over quite easily. It has done with me, and I suspect that it can do with others. Would I recommend Tank Mechanics Simulator? Yes, I definitely would. Well, that's it for this review, guys. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.